what I was hoping we could do is just go around, introduce yourself, name, company, and then the topic is, all right, what tools are you, what are the problems? What are the things you're trying to manage? And then what tools have you found successful? And we'll just talk for 20 minutes. We'll kind of bounce around and go from there. Does that sound good?
Yeah, sounds great.
Sounds great.
All right, good. So I'm just going to go ahead and start. Hey, hello, everyone. My name is Molly Connolly. We've got our member chat today. The focus is on internal tools. So I would love all of our members to just introduce themselves and your company, and then we're going to jump in and talk about different tools we use to successfully manage our businesses. So Scott, would you mind starting?
Sure. My name is Scott Howard. I have a company, Scott Howard Consulting, that develops custom software. We have clients around the country and companies large and small in many industries. We have a vertical market district attorney case management app that has been keeping us busy. And
I forgot you have a vertical too. So custom software and a product.
Right.
Okay, great. Vanessa, how about you?
Yeah, so I'm Vanessa Costanzo. I'm with Recruiting Pro Software I'm based in Madison, Wisconsin. And we do custom system design and development and app development for mostly small and medium-sized businesses, but in a variety of industries and really variety of needs and systems that they're looking for.
Well, and one of the reasons I was really excited you could jump on this call is I know that your company has grown over time and you go, and now you're having a concerted effort to say, hey, do we need to rethink how we manage some of the processes? Like,
yes,
it's worked.
That's been my last few months.
Okay, like really having a chance to look at it. All right, cool. Yep. How about you, Mike?
I'm Mike Cavallari. I'm with Figaro Services. I'm a one-man shop. I just started getting incorporated recently. And I'm offering for my clients a multidisciplinary approach to problem solving to see if there's a way that to have the right conversations with the right people, they can get more done. And if that means just changing process, great. If that means understanding and exploring what software is out there, great. If it means having to build something from scratch, well, I can find that, I can do that, and I'm kind of that extra right-hand man, so to speak, that you may want, the good man Friday, or
I like that.
I like to think of as Figaro.
I know, I need that background. Well, and the other thing that's interesting about you is you are a programmer, you can program, but that's not the focus of your company. The focus of your company is more strategic planning, interacting, finding solutions with the customer, and then as we talk about internal tools, being able to advise them on where they should invest and how they should invest.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, great. Susan?
Hi, I'm Susan Fenema. I am the Chaos Eradicating Officer for Beyond the Chaos. I help small businesses figure out how to streamline their processes, specifically when it applies to project management, a process that will help them figure out how to make sure their projects end, which is always a big thing, and that they stay in scope and in budget while doing it. And then, I also can help write operational projects and help manage operations in companies. So I usually target software development as well as creative marketing advertising firms.
That's great. So the other interesting thing about everybody here is we've all built systems that help other people manage their chaos, right? But what I've personally found, and within the different organizations I've worked in, is there's that the cobbler's kids have no shoes problem. Right. Well, I can build it for somebody else, and when I have enough time, I'll build this fabulous solution for myself, but I don't have enough time, so I'll just cobble together with what I have. So talk to me about what are some of the, when I say internal processes that you need to manage. Let's start there and just set the framework. Like, one is billing. How do I keep track of my time? What else do you guys find as things internally that you need to get a handle
on? Contractor time, bandwidth.
Yeah, scheduling. How am I going to have enough people to staff the many projects if you've got a kind of an advanced portfolio?
Right.
And the other side of that, or maybe the sister side of that, so to speak, is then just hours in a day and where that time goes. What do your weeks look like? What does your month look like? When can you push things off? What can you prioritize differently? It's one thing to have 40 hours, but is that going to happen now? Is it going to happen later? Is it going to be divided up?
Right.
So that's there too. For me, I just I just use calendar. I try to keep as bare bones, sort of as strict to the OS as I can. My preferred OS is Mac. And for some of those tools, especially where I'm trying to manage multiple calendars, a dozen different calendars with different obligations. I just need something simple that I know is going to work on, all of my devices. And it gives me
So
enough
you're
of it.
Straight up using calendar.
It's free.
You're using a calendar and you have multiple calendar. The Mac calendar?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Because it's ubiquitous. I can get information out of it, and I said it's ubiquitous. So point 1 and point 3.
Those kids sometimes have, you need a translator.
To chime in with that, I'm a big fan of Google Calendar for a lot of those things too. From even if you're managing a team, a small team. Now, a large team, you'll have to do it a different way. But with a small team, even being able to plan out their schedule as a resource, with them as a resource onto a calendar so that you can see when they will be available to you.
Guys, help me out with the calendar. Like I have a lot of clients that ask for, I want to see it visually. I want to see it on a calendar. And my pushback has been, yeah, but there's 400 things happening on Monday. Do you really want to see it in a calendar? Like I'm a list person myself. So I always have trouble translating that. I know they want visual, but I'm like, is that really helpful to see a microscopic dot? How do you guys handle that?
Well, and we've really been struggling with that recently because we started using the new Basecamp 3.
Yeah, and they've got calendar view, right?
And they have a calendar in there, but the import into iCal, like for me to have on my daily use, it imports every to-do. And so right now we're really struggling with that. Where do these things live, and how do we share information with clients internally? That's something that I've really been looking into and haven't found the right solution for us at this point.
Scott,
so
what are you using for
very
task
curious.
management?
We use Basecamp 2. Susan's actually been helping us to find ways to streamline our operations, deliver better on time, kind of put some processes in place. And one of the things that excited us about her is that she uses Basecamp 2 with the Google Calendars, which we used already, but she's kind of showed us how to leverage them well. And the Google Calendars interact really well with the Apple calendar. We have PC and Mac users, and it works really well on both.
What about, to address Vanessa's question, can you limit the tasks that come over so that it's not like everything?
Yeah, you can turn on and off calendars. So I can just view my calendar, or mine and our administrators, or my developers. Yeah. So
Basecamp 3 handles it a little differently than Basecamp 2. Basecamp 2 is a lot more, I guess it's easier to see a calendar view in Basecamp, as well as be able to import that into iCal. Basecamp 3 is a little bit more complicated of how you use it to work with your clients.
Well, it's interesting that we all use Basecamp. I use Basecamp. I'm not super happy with it, but it's one of those things where it's like, it's pretty cheap, right? It's however much a month. It's easy for me to throw a client on there if they need to. And even with and when I say it's limited, I don't like the task management because it's binary. And for me, the tasks it's not necessarily done or not done. It's on hold, or it's waiting for something else. So that's my argument there.
I got you some ways to do that, but you're using Classic, right?
Oh yeah, I just stayed way back. I like the green interface. And there's the other thing. I'm like, well, I'm going to do my own, so I'm not going to bother upgrading, because someday, and it's been like 3 years, maybe more.
One thing I would mention is last year we went through a process of evaluating project management services that are on there. We tried Asana, Maven Link, Project Place, a whole bunch of them, and a couple we dived really deeply into. And really what ended up happening is we use Basecamp 2, and Classic you can do this too, because it's a place where our clients can collaborate with us, and it was instantly understandable to them. We have some documents that we've written to help them understand how we use it, and Susan's helping us refine those. But we just discovered that, even though we were getting the metrics we wanted from some of these systems, our clients hated them. And really what's key to us is making the clients comfortable where in our tool. Basecamp 3, I love the interface and functionality, but the way we work, you don't have a place you log in and see your to-do list so you can reference your files. It's all email collaboration with clients. And maybe y'all have found other ways to work with it, but we just couldn't fit it into our workflow. So it's really, depends on how you work with your clients, but our clients instantly understand Basecamp too. And then we help them use it more consistently.
And that's a huge difference.
It's a huge difference.
We had used Basecamp too previously and had a hard time getting client buy-in. Clients would not go to Basecamp. They would email things separately, and then we just ended up with stuff kind of all over the place. So 3 so far, we've had a little bit better buy-in from our clients, but it's just trying to manage, like you said, some of those kind of caveat things of where are we going to put these and where do they go?
I've always been interested in their products, but I haven't used Basecamp. But it's good to hear this because for me, I've been a fan of Atlassian's suite of their products of Jira and Confluence. And one of the things that I do like about Confluence, well, and Jira as well, is that it seems like it's that place where it's a environment that you can code in and you can customize, but it's also hosted and such, so you don't have to worry about doing all that overwork. And there's this thin, overlap where you're saying, if I'm going to create the same sort of environment for each of my clients, I can start with a template. And if they need more complex, real fine-grained understanding of data, I can do that. But if they just need a place to dump some files, look at some collaboration, mark some things up, and then email kind of back and forth, I've always liked the products to do that, especially the way that it connects into Jira as well for task management. And Almali, like I said, I'm not familiar with Basecamp's tasks, but I do like Jira's and the fact that I can say what type of flavor it is, where I am, where the workflow goes, etc. And even just for a one-man shop, it's easy enough for me, and then to send that out. And I think the thing is, though, too, is that we shouldn't beat ourselves up too much about if clients are really adapting. As much as we want them to, we're just going to get those clients that you need to either do it for them, you need to spoon feed them, or just smile and move on. And, so there's,
Right.
I always want to, especially when talking with others like you, is to say, what's the threshold? What's the point where you finally go, I'm just not going to push anymore.
Right.
Clearly, you're not going to jump into this. As much as it would save you money, make me more efficient, and make this project better, it's just going to have to be something that we're going to move on with.
Yeah, I'm just going to copy and paste your email into Jira directly.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
And everybody's going to have clients that some will embrace it, and you're like, wow, you use it better than I do. And others, you'll just, you'll have to train just a little bit, and they'll do it. It might not be perfect, but they'll do it. And then others, they can't even think that way. They can't even think in a task-oriented way. And that's when you have to say, well, we can do that for you, but understand that you're paying us to do that for you.
Right.
One of our clients told us recently, she noticed that we responded quicker when she would post something on Basecamp because everybody sees it. And so now she and her whole staff have started posting things on Basecamp more regularly. I didn't do that on purpose, but it just, if everyone sees it, then somebody's going to respond quicker. And so they have that incentive to post there.
There are a lot of incentives and rewards you can offer clients that encourage them to use the tool the way you want them to, without having to be so in your face and, push on them. Because in the end, you are still serving them, right?
I wanted to jump in about Jira. One, because we have another member, Roger Jakes, who he's actually developing a solution. I think it's Jira. Is Jira by Atlassian? Is that how it works?
So Atlassian is the company, and then they have Jira and Confluence and Portfolio and other type of products underneath their main brand. So
you guys might want to help me test this. So he's building the system that it's, and the primary reason he does Jira is for the technical requests that his clients come in, not task management for, well, I guess both. I guess he's got the task management for his team, but also the tasks that are brought in from the client, like the tech request, help desk. But what he's also done is he's very focused on time billing. So he attaches time and he's integrating it with QuickBooks so that you pull, okay, your time was done. Here's how much I spent. It was related to this task. And then that goes out into the invoicing as well. So that's interesting. And that's something he's been working on that I'm interested in. I'm not necessarily as good at tying a specific task to my time. So I'd be more like, okay, we did project management, but I don't say project management about this issue. So I'm not sure if that would be a stumbling block or not.
Yeah, we actually started using Tick, which integrates with Basecamp and QuickBooks.
Is that time or
for time tracking? Yeah. So I think the website is like tickspot.com. There've definitely been some things to get used to, but they've been very responsive, and the integration with the to-do list in Basecamp, and like the synchronization between the two has been awesome for us. Really reduced like any re-entry or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And being able to export it right to QuickBooks has been great too.
We used a Harvest, which has a little Google plugin, Google Chrome plugin that puts a little timer in Basecamp.
It works in Safari too. So there's some people who hate Chrome because it takes up too much memory and all that.
Yeah, right.
So it will work in Safari as well, that plugin.
Financial. So we've talked about task tracking, about requests, incoming request. What about, what are you doing for financial? I do QuickBooks Online. It's easy. It's
I do
there
as well.
Yeah, Harvest and QuickBooks.
And
Actually, I'm sorry, go ahead.
What's Harvest, Scott?
Harvest is a time billing and invoicing system that can stand alone.
Okay.
But it also integrates with QuickBooks and Basecamp and a lot of other services. It also has an option called Forecast, which I think as we get bigger, it allows you to forecast your availability. But right now we can do that with, eyeballing it better.
Right. Kind of do the gut check. Mike, you were saying something.
Well, I was just saying that I'm starting in with QuickBooks myself, and so it's good to hear that you who are more experienced are using it as well. I looked at different options that look best. One of the questions I have, though, and maybe this is off topic, so forgive me, is I'm looking for the appropriate bank for financials. And I was curious if any of you have a real love or hate relationship with who is handling the actual financials coming in and out, because there's so many options out there, and I look at one and I look at another, and I think I've got it narrowed down. But I'm just curious if there's anybody who says, look, you've got to stay clear of this person, or you've got to go with this bank. If there's anyone in particular that you would vouch for.
Go ahead.
I'm using BBVA Compass. It's a business bank. It lets you do some online payments. It ties into QuickBooks. It ties into my Quicken too, because I do mine actually both ways. So I can see all my financials, personal and professional, in my Quicken. And it's really hard to love a bank, right? And I don't love it, but there's no fees. There are local branches if I need to go physically deposit a check. And they have online banking that has improved since I started with them.
Okay.
And I looked into a whole bunch of them. I actually just started my business in June of last year. Okay. So I'm not that far from you as far as researching and looking into all of those things. So,
right.
Yeah.
The biggest thing that somebody actually just told me about this is, so, I don't always have a nice stash of cash, like the cash flow is like this, but at the end of the year, I often get really big prepays, right? And so and usually, my regular bank savings account, you get no interest, but I have to keep it liquid, right? I'm getting, who knows when that's going to get paid. But there's a couple, I think it's Capital One and then Goldman Sachs online banking where you get 1% interest. So that was another thing. I was like, you know what? I might as well do that. Like, there's not necessarily a minimum. So in the case when I do have the extra cash sitting there in the bank, you make $100 here and there.
Right.
Then I was like, I should probably pay attention to that.
Okay, that's great. That's great to know. Thanks.
And not be afraid to I was like, I can only have one bank. No, you really can have as many as you want. It's not that hard to keep track of.
Right. Yeah.
I think, Molly, that's actually one thing to mention. All of us have national clients. We're not going to somebody's office next door and picking up a check and driving it to the bank. All of us are really doing things very virtually and paperless. So that's a big difference between some consultants and some developers who are more hands-on and more paper. This kind of workflow actually streamlines your ability to get paid faster and to have the money available to you faster.
What about payroll? Scott, you've got employees. Vanessa, you've got employees. Are you handling that internally? Did you use a payroll service?
We do have an accountant. We pay monthly, but we use QuickBooks Online, and then our bank we chose because it does direct deposit.
Okay.
So it's PNC Bank. I think that's regional or national.
Yeah, because that can be a real pain if you do have a lot of employees and you're figuring out their taxes and you're withholding. And,
Yes, we're very thankful for our accountant.
yes.
Yeah, we use Gusto for payroll.
Is that just a payroll service?
Yeah, we've recently switched to them probably in the last year and a half maybe, and have been really happy. Just with their fees were a lot less than most of the other places we worked with. They gave us all the information we needed to give to our accountant in a proper format and integrates kind of with everything we're doing. Yeah, we've had a very good experience with that one.
Well, that's the one that I've at one point when I was like, oh, it's like per person like $10 a month, and that's so worth me not sitting there for an hour making sure I do the right withholding.
And then get in trouble with the IRS later.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Sometimes I just have to remind myself, just pay for it. Just because
time isn't worth it.
So, any other? So we're gonna wrap up a little bit. Any other tools that you use internally? I'm just trying to think. Anything else internally that I use or that I might take advantage of?
I'll give you one little one that I think everybody should use. It's calendly.com to set up meetings that you can set it up to see the calendars you want it to see and block out time. And man, it's so much better than a month of going back and forth to figure out when everybody's available.
Yeah. Anybody else need calendar solutions for meeting planning and all that?
Not yet.
Yeah. The one piece of software I wanted to recommend that I've used a lot, not only for professional reasons, but personal reasons as well, is called Resilio Sync, SYNC. Resilio used to be BitTorrent Sync. And then they rebranded it as its own called Resilio Sync. The reason why I love this and I try to promote it to people is it's a sweet spot of having storage that will sync to multiple devices, iOS, everything else, but it's not in the cloud at all. And you can still selectively turn things on and off. So what I do is I use it. It's kind of one software that serves two purposes. It has the documents and the data where I need them, when I need them, but it's also a backup. So I have, for example, my laptop, a Mac Mini server, iPad, iPhone. Yes, I own stock in Apple. I'm not going to lie. And so the thing is, I know that when I save that one thing, it's saved everywhere, but it's not in the cloud. And it's still using 256-bit encryption. And you can still do sharing with other people and turn on or off what gets downloaded automatically, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So for me, especially where I'm managing essentially multiple careers, I might have folders of scores and sheet music. I regularly have been using my iPad now for about 4 or 5 seasons at the Lyric Opera for all my scores and concert engagements and such. But then also to be able to sit down and have the requirements document sheet from that client, in Word or the PDF or the images, and it's just there. And I know it's getting backed up without having to pay anybody, a monthly service fee, because eventually, those little subscriptions start to be like
they do
leeches.
start to add up. Yep, they start to add up.
And you start to go, how did I get so many leeches on me? This is one less thing where you don't need a leech to get the job done. So I just wanted to promote that. If there's something to look at, I think it's $40 for a license, and you can install it on as many machines as you want. It's per user. And they have a business plan too that I haven't looked into, but just that fact of saying, if you want to have your own storage, but not manage it like a traditional server space, but not pay a subscription, I highly recommend it. It's secure. It's on every device, and it's really worked out well for me.
That's great.
Have you used that all for collaboration on? I know one of the things we're currently looking at is, do we try out the Microsoft Cloud Drive to have that living document feel, but not be a Google Doc?
Yeah. So you can do that and turn on, and invite people in as long as they have a sync as well. So that, let's say you had, a client's folder and you have employee A, so you want them to see the client folder, but then there's client B with employee B, so you can kind of selectively turn on and off.
That's
and
great.
The way that you can do it is you can either share them an actual link, or there's a QR code that will bring up on the screen, and you can just take that with your iOS device, your Android phone, I believe, and it will go, oh, okay, and then get the link, get it, prepared, and then you can selectively download and sync what you want.
Well, that's great.
And
That's what I forgot. Google Drive, Dropbox.
Yep.
All of the above.
But they're all in the cloud, so that's the difference from what Mike's talking about. They are in the cloud, but they do let you limit who sees what, so you can also divide it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've said the sync is a nice solution sometimes if you have those who are in the legal verticals or medical, and they're really nervous about, putting something that's out of their control. This way you can say, look, you save it here at work, you can leave this computer here. When you go home, it's going to be there waiting for you. you know, and vice versa. And it's not going to be in the cloud. It's going to be, the encryption's going to happen, and then the lines go silent, so to speak. So if it's the right fit, it's something to look into.
I think it's great.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're at our little time up. Thank you everybody for participating. That was really fun for me. I'm going to just post this, and then hopefully we'll just keep the dialogue going. But give me a couple things to think about.
Could I say one quick thing?
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of us are tinkerers, and so we always want the latest and greatest of whatever tool that we're using. I mean, I used to be a shareware junkie, and I was, I loved utilities and new things, and I still do. But I realized at one point that I just needed to pick something for my project management and just leverage it, because there's always going to be something with just that one feature I've always hoped for, or it does this just slightly better. But the problem is, if you're always switching from service to service, you're really losing a lot of efficiency. And so I really encourage people, because I have people ask me, what we use for project management and stuff. And really, I realized I just had to pick one and start using it consistently.
I think that's great advice.
Find add-ons if needed, but otherwise just really become expert at using what you have to do what you want, so you can not focus so much on the tools, but on the job that you're trying to do.
And it doesn't have to be Basecamp. That applies to any of the ones you choose. I mean, you can develop a system that make them work for you.
Amen. Amen.
All right. Well, thanks everybody. I'm gonna stop my recording. There we go. All right. Well, this is